Hello again. Week 4. This is our second lesson of the week, and we're going to get deeper into elimination. And yeah, it's a pretty big subject, so I'm going to jump right in. I want to make sure we have enough time to talk through some of these strategies because they do get a little tricky from time to time. So notice how this says solve the following system of equations. So I'm automatically going to set myself up for success by writing an empty point. That way I won't forget to solve for both variables. And this says eliminating the x first. So we're going to zero in all of our focus on trying to get these two variables to create a zero or eliminate, hence the name elimination, so then we can have a cute little one-step equation to solve. So the strategy that we're going to be using here is going to be something a little different than the last lesson. So in the last lesson, we could multiply one equation by something to create zero. Here, there's nothing that you, like no whole numbers that you can multiply by 2 in order to turn it into -3 and vice versa. So here's the strategy, and I think that once you see it, it's helpful rather than me just trying to explain it before I get into it. So what we're going to do is we're going to zero in on the x's first. We're going to multiply by the other number. So we're going to multiply the top equation by 3 and the bottom equation by 2. And since they're both positive, we have to multiply, make sure one of those numbers is negative. And we'll see another example of this, but I'm just always going to make the bottom number negative in order to make this work. Okay, so remember, this only works if we multiply everything by the number, everything in the equation. So 3 times 2 is going to be 6, so that's 6x. 3 times 5 is 15, so that's going to be 15y. And then 3 times 43 is going to be 129, so we write that down there. All right, let's do the second one. We're going to do -2 times 3, that's -6. So you can see that now those two groups of x's will create a zero or eliminate. -2 times -2 is +4. And then -2 times -2 is also +4. All right, and then we're going to add top to bottom just like we did before. This eliminates or creates 0, as I've said before. 19y, 15 plus 4, and then this is going to be 133. And now it's a cute little one step. All we have to do is divide by 19. I don't know my 19 multiplications at all. So 133 divided by 19 is equal to 7. I had to look that one up. No shame in my calculator game. I love calculators. All right. So here we solved for the y first, and we're going to keep going. We have to go back up and get the x. So by now, hopefully you guys realize that I always come up and I grab the first original equation. You could use any equation on this paper. You could use the first, second, third, or fourth. Now I'm going to replace my y with 7. So I have 2x plus 5 multiplied by 7 equals 43. I'm going to need to move this out of the way here. All right, so now we have 5 times 7 is 35. So 2x plus 35 is equal to 43. Subtract 35 from both sides, and that creates a 0. So now we have 2x is equal to, remember we're always adding from top to bottom, and so this would be an 8, +8, and we're going to divide by 2 on both sides. So x is equal to 4. So we got our x, we got our y, and we're done with this. Let's see one more example of how this works. So remember, the question is telling you to eliminate the x's. So we're going to just focus on the x's. It's absolutely possible to eliminate the y's if you want to. But the way we're learning right now, it's just going to tell you that you need to try and eliminate the x's. So again, we're going to multiply by the opposite number. We're going to multiply the top number by the bottom one and the bottom one by the top one. Something interesting about this example is that since they are already opposite signs, right, the 4 is positive and the 5 is negative, we don't need to make one of the numbers that we're multiplying by negative because it'll already naturally be negative. Again, sometimes I feel like it's a little hard to explain, but once you see the result, it clicks and it makes sense why we did what we did. So let's do it. 5 times 4, 20x. 5 times 3y is going to be 15y. And then 5 times 14, I believe it's 70. Yay! All right, let's do the next one. 4 times negative 5 is negative 20x. Yes, right? That's what we're looking for. We're looking for those two numbers to be the same but opposite signs so they create 0 when we add them. 4 times 2 is 8, so that's 8y. And 4 times 40 is going to be 160. And now we get to make that cute little one-step equation. Eliminated that. We get 15 plus 8. That's going to be 23. And 70 plus 160 is going to be 230. Divide both sides by 23. And we get y equals 10. Oops, I did not set myself up for success on this one. Oh well. So 10 is our y, and we need to use that to come grab this first equation, 4x plus 3y equals 14. And we use this for our y in order to solve for our x. So we have 4x plus 3 times 10 equals 14. You always multiply before you start solving. That's something that we've seen a few times in a few different situations. You got to take care of the multiplication before you can start undoing things and getting x alone. All right, now it's just a two-step. 4x is equal to negative 16. Remember, you're adding from top to bottom. 14 plus negative 30. Divide by 4 on both sides, and we get x is equal to negative 4. So here we go. Get this out of the weeds over here. Come on. There we go. Oh, well, almost had it. So that's 10 and that's negative 4 right there. All right, you guys. Go ahead and try your on your own example there. I'll give you the hint that you're going to want to multiply, one of these numbers needs to be negative in order to get the x's to cancel. So there's your hint. Go ahead and give it a shot. I'll see you in a couple minutes. Okay, hope you're feeling successful. Our password for this assignment is Monday and Tuesday at noon. So make sure you get those capitals correct. The reason why it is Monday and Tuesday at noon is because that is when my office hours are from now on. So feel free to stop in at noon on either Monday or Tuesday, and we can do some studying, ask me questions, whatever you need. Okay, let's get started on these. So this is going to be the same type of problem again, but we're going to eliminate the y first. So the last one we were focusing in on the x's. This one we're going to focus in on the y's. Still going to use the same strategy. So looking at these two numbers here, you can see they are opposite signs. So we're not going to need to multiply by a negative. But we still are going to multiply the top equation by the bottom number times the top number. Bottom equation by the top number. So distribute that to all parts of the equation, all three parts. Let's do it. 3 times 4, that's 12. 3 times 7, that's 21. 3 times 25, that's going to give us 75. All right, 7 times negative 2 is negative 14. 7 times negative 3 is negative 21. Oh, look at that. Isn't it so beautiful? We have a negative and a positive, but they are the same number for the y's. And so when that happens, poof, we eliminated it, and that's what we wanted to have happen, because elimination is the name of the game. Okay, so adding top to bottom, 12x plus negative 14x is going to give us negative 2x's. 75 plus negative 77 is going to give us negative 2. Remember, always double check with your calculator, especially if you're somebody who struggles with the negatives and positive rules. Just always double check adding top to bottom. It's just a good idea. It'll keep you from making mistakes. Okay, so that means x is equal to 1. We're going to go back just like I always do, and we grab that top equation, 4x plus 7y equals 25. And we use our previous answer, which was that x is 1. And that'll help us to solve for the y value. All right, don't forget you have to multiply first before you can solve. And I'll get this out of the way here. All right, so now this one maybe it's a little tricky because the 4 is over on the left-hand side, but you still want to get all the ones, the groups of ones, onto the right-hand side of the equal sign before you divide. So even though we're used to seeing the variable be where the 4 was, you still want to get rid of the group of ones before you deal with the number in front of the x or the y. Okay, there we go. We're done with our first example here. Let's do one more example of how we can do this when we're focusing in on the y's. Now on this one, you'll notice that the y's are both negative. So when they're the same sign, one of the numbers that you multiply by needs to be a negative. And like I've said before, I always just automatically make the bottom number the negative number. It's just easier for me to just follow the same path every single time. I've said it so many times throughout our math class that I just like to do things the same every single time because, 5 times 35. I don't know that I can do that one in my head. I need some help. Okay, so sorry. I like to do it the same every single time because then I'm less likely to make mistakes. And as you could see, that little tiny thing, oops, that should be a negative, distracted me, right? I get distracted so easily. And so I find that if I'm able to eliminate things that are distracting or might catch my attention and pull me away from what I'm trying to do, then I'm a lot more focused and a lot more able to get my answers correct. Okay, last step here is just to take this top equation, 3x minus 5y equals 57. We're going to replace the x with 4. And I'm back. Little glitch there. Okay, so we're going to replace the x with a 4. 3 times 4 minus 5y equals 57. 3 times 4 is 12. And again, this might be a little bit confusing because we're used to the variable being on the left-hand side of there, but we want to make sure that we gather all the groups of ones together before we deal with the number in front of the x. So this is going to be 45. All right, divide by -5 on both sides. I'm coming up against the clock here, so if I run out of time, I hope not. Oop, x is 4, y is -9. There we go. So don't forget that we have an assignment session at noon on Friday. And so if you're struggling with